Behind the scenes transparency is so important to me and a huge reason as to why I have started this podcast. So that's why I am admitting to you that some of my tactics and techniques are driving me crazy because they are just not working. In this episode, I am going to tell you exactly what I have been up to, what I have been trying, and the honest truth about what's working, what's not, and why my head is absolutely spinning. Hey, it's Rebecca Boland. Welcome back to Etsy and Ecom with the Professional Mom, where I have been sharing all things Etsy sellers and beyond in order to learn how to start selling online and capitalize on those new skills to diversify other passive income streams online in the comfort of your own home and on your own time. If you are new here, welcome. This is a brand new podcast in 2025, and I am so excited that you have stumbled onto it to share your Etsy seller journey and hopefully grow some shops together outside of just Etsy. One of my biggest pet peeves in listening to various gurus is that many of them don't share full transparency about all of the details that are really vital in making strategic decisions, both for yourself and for your business. So for instance, you can absolutely say you are a 6-figure or 7-figure seller, but if you also have 6 figures or 7 figures in expenses, you're not taking that home in profit. And that is something that you are not lying to your audience about, but you're certainly not giving them all of the information they may need to realize that they're not going home with $1 million in their pocket. They actually could have a 6-figure business and be in debt. Moving past that, I'm not saying that to start this off with negativity or anything else. I just am here to call out the real feelings, even the ones that, let's be honest, absolutely suck about being an online seller. And today I wanted to put together an off-the-cuff episode where I'm going to admit there's not a specific takeaway action item I have planned to give you at the end like I usually do, but I wanted to tell you exactly where I'm at and to recognize that we all have ups and downs in our businesses. And even if you're a podcast host, like I now am, it doesn't mean that you have the answers to everything or the keys to unlock. Sometimes what needs a little bit of luck mixed in with your perfect strategy. In my early episodes, I have mentioned that I have several Etsy shops. It's actually 5 right now. And I know that's a little bit crazy, but I have wanted to dive into various tactics and I've wanted to try out different experiments. And I've wanted to have different shops from digital and handmade to very recently print on demand. When I first started Etsy in 2020, I took a course and I started selling physical tumblers that I customized with my Cricut cutting machine. If you're a crafter, you know Cricut or Silhouette, and printed out vinyl decals and sent physical products that way. And I did really well. I was able to start instantly making sales and make $1,000 or $2,000 in my very first month on Etsy. So I felt like I really had a strong grasp of the core concepts right off the bat, especially being able to break into a popular market like personalized tumblers. Fast forward, and I have 2 little boys and therefore could not keep up with demand and physically creating products. I knew that I wouldn't be able to commit to timelines to get to FedEx or UPS to ship things out. And I wanted to try out the popular digital products that were picking up. So I did create a shop, dabbled a little bit, created 1 or 2 good sellers, and then got another bout of shiny object syndrome. Took that, jumped into a digital product store where I was creating craft files like SVGs for other Cricut crafters, which I enjoyed. I had a little bit more creativity for, and I knew was something that these crafters needed. With the classic evolution of business, of course, I became a little bit less enamored with that. turned my focus a little more towards business coaching and focusing on helping others grow businesses, as opposed to actually sitting down and doing my own graphic design regularly. And ultimately, those shops tapered off. I even put one on vacation mode, which I would not recommend now, but that's a story for another day. And now we are here where I have reopened the physical product shop that I first started with, but I have finally taken it into a print-on-demand shop rather than creating my own vinyl decals and shipping products out. So my newest endeavors are, one, that original shop, taking it off of a, I think, 2+ year vacation mode and trying to get it into the print-on-demand space, and two, taking my SVG for Cricut users shop and adding PNGs that I am creating with AI artwork and turning that into a more tumbler wrap shop with AI PNGs and sublimation files. Third, I did specifically start a new shop in a new niche with the intent that it will be only print on demand. And I'm hoping no personalized products, but it's still being figured out. All three of these things were really stemming from right around Thanksgiving last year. So late November 2024 is when all of these things started coming to mind. It might have even been early November because I started thinking about the Christmas season, thinking about how I could capitalize on that, especially with digital products. It was still over a month away. But ultimately, the most severe shiny object syndrome I've ever had, and I sat down and started them all. So here's where I'm going to hit you with the truth bomb, because it hurts me to come here and say, hey, I'm hosting a podcast, but some of my methods aren't working, or some of my trend analysis is not panning out the way I thought it would. However, that is the absolute truth of the business. That's the truth of my journey. And without being all mushy-gushy, I need other sellers to know that that's going to happen. We are going to have these peaks and valleys. We are going to take the strategies that we know work, and sometimes they may work for others, but not for us. And sometimes they just may take longer to pan out. So are we going to do good news or bad news first? Let's start with the bad news so we can end on a positive note. The bad news is that what is not working for me right now is the print-on-demand space. Here are a few things I am researching and trying to hash out. Number one is that the first shop that I switched to print on demand is the shop that was on vacation mode for years. I mean, like through both of my maternity leaves at work, through my toddlers, and then I was focusing on digital product shops. That shop was in complete hibernation mode. Now, I did bulk upload a lot of products in a short amount of time, really trying to focus on that shop and get it up and moving. And I was able to make sales for the Christmas season. I had a few products that did really well, and I even had one customer buy 16 mugs from me for a holiday party. So I had some traction, and I really thought if that's how December was, I'd be on track to continue doing well in January, even though we all know first quarter is not nearly the same as fourth quarter. However, fast forward to the end of January, and I made 2 sales the entire month in that shop. Only 2. And that was so disheartening, especially because one of those sales was a very winter Christmas themed mug, and one was a very specific Santa themed Christmas ornament. So neither of those were going to be evergreen items that I expected to pick up and continue to do well throughout the year. If I take a look back, and I am incredibly honest with myself about this shop, Here's where we're at. Number one is most of the products that I did launch were very Christmas oriented. So those mugs that did well were because they were based on Christmas themes. They did well at a Christmas party. They did well for coworker gifts. They did well for Secret Santas. When I looked at the couple hundred products I uploaded and I extrapolated what really I wouldn't buy after Christmas, even though a couple of those can taper in, I'm left with maybe 100 products that are year round. Then you backtrack that and you look at my categories, and I was dabbling in too many different product lines. So out of 100 products, I maybe had 12 beer can glasses, 12 comfort color shirts, 20 Bella canvas shirts, and 10 customizable mugs. This is a classic piece of do as I say, not as I do, where I admit that is not the advice I would give to any seller, and yet that's what I was doing. I was trying to work so fast that I wasn't working smart. I was trying to throw spaghetti at the wall to test the market, that the things I threw there were no longer being tested the second Christmas was over. Then we also roll into the piece of taking a step back and looking at the big picture. I have been living in this all day, every day, obsessed with following the numbers, obsessed with tracking. And I think it's a little bit like the weight loss journey, where they tell you you're not supposed to get on a scale every day, right? Like there's going to be fluctuations, there's going to be up and downs. And it's similar to the watch pot never boils old adage, where you can't sit there, stare at it every day, think that you've been living in it, why isn't it changing? And then take a step back and say, oh, it's really only been 1 month. Can you make a bestseller in a month? Absolutely. Can new products get picked up and grow overnight? Absolutely. Does that happen all the time? Definitely not. Does it happen to everybody? Absolutely not. So apply this to your business by taking a step backward and looking at what you have actually done in your shop lately and what you have optimized for, and be very honest with yourself about whether you have been strategic in the products you have been launching. Give yourself some breathing room. Recognize that we are only about just over a month after Christmas. January is a slow-ish month anyway. And if you are sure that you've put in the research and you've put in the time, then continue to do what you're doing and do it well. Continue to create new designs in the niches that you have found, in the niches that you have done your research on. And for lack of better words, trust the process. I am mostly saying that to myself, but for those of you who need to hear it right now as well, there it is. We all together need to trust the process, recognize that the data tells a story, the numbers don't lie, and if we continue to follow the trend and follow what the data says customers want, and there's a shortage of sellers, then there will be a point that picks up. Now, that is a lot, and that's kind of the main focus, but I do want to say part of the reason I started this second print-on-demand shop was because at first I was curious whether being on vacation mode was making that shop harder to be found and taking longer to get pulled back into Etsy rankings than if I had launched a brand new store. So between that curiosity, my lack of patience for getting that first sale in my legacy shop, and I had a new niche in mind anyway that I didn't think would overlap with my branding of my first shop, I went ahead and started this new shop. I will say that shop got 2 sales within the first week, and I thought for sure I was in success mode. And then that shop went relatively quiet. I believe to date, so maybe 2 months in now, I have, I believe, only 8 sales in that shop. I don't think I got a single sale in the month of January. However, several of the honest pieces of constructive criticism I gave myself for the first shop do apply to this one as well, to the degree that even some of them I had been copy and pasting tags and descriptions. Several of them were not even in the right category. So if it was a teacher designed t-shirt, it had been copied and pasted as a religious Christian mom design or a t-shirt for a nurse. And that absolutely is not going to help you out because you're not getting your target audience to even see your products. And if and when your products are accidentally shown, or I guess are purposely shown for those wrong keywords, it's going to tank your conversion rate because it's not ever going to convert if the person was looking for something entirely different. Also in that shop, I launched with only print-on-demand licensed designs from other designers. So I have not put any of my own unique designs on a product in that shop just yet. That is another key piece that I have to be honest with myself about and honest with why those products are not going to stand out, because there is nothing incredibly over the top unique, absolutely can only come from my shop right now. And that is something I need to get in front of customers. All of that was the bad news, but I also consider it constructive criticism, where it's not what I want to hear. It's not what I want to say or admit to you. I would love to be saying my shop exploded in sales as soon as I found a magic keyword, but that's the reality of thinking that you were doing the right thing every single day and then looking up 30 days later and saying there's still no movement. Sometimes that's what happens. And I will continue to have these off the cuff, honest, down-to-earth, transparent podcast episodes so that you know that that is the norm and you know what's working and not working for me. And if you're in the same boat, you can reach out to me and say, hey, I was feeling that way too. What are we both doing wrong? Or do we need to both give ourselves 30 to 60 more days or switch our strategy? And feel like you're not alone on this journey. The good news for all of that is that the SVG shop that I started adding sublimation PNGs to started having instant success. And newsflash, instant success can be different for everybody. Seeing a couple sales trickle in is instant success. You can feel like you are a success by just making a couple dollars a day. So I don't say instant success to pretend like I am higher in the Etsy God rankings than I am. But this shop had never been on vacation mode, but I certainly had not added designs to it in quite some time. And I found an incredible method to batch create and batch upload AI tumbler art for sublimation. And I poured all of my time and effort into that. And I think in the first month I had over 100 sales. And I think now a month later I have another 100. I'll have to go back and check. But yes, this shop that did have some legacy sales and some reviews. So I think that maybe helped buyers have some confidence. But it picked up and I've gained this huge level of traction where I can rely on sales in that shop, 2 or 3 at minimum a day. And that may not be huge because as a digital PNG, I'm only making a few dollars a piece. But even hearing that cha-ching once a day on your phone and getting a sense of consistency is such a huge step in the right direction that if you've gotten there, you know how it feels. It's this small sense of, okay, woosah, I know what I'm talking about. It's working. The ball just has to keep rolling. Just you keep working hard and keep the ball moving and things will work out. Now, it's funny because I must have been inspired at the same time or place as several other people. And I know that one of the podcasts I love to listen to is shout out How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy with Lizzie Smiley. And I have hit her up on Instagram a couple times. We don't know each other yet, but it is funny because right around the same time I started doing these tumbler designs, she started talking about how she was doing that in her shop as well. So we must have either followed somebody or done some research around the same time and seen that that was an opportunity. And I loved listening to her updates as well because I believe she is having the same type of success. And that doesn't mean that everybody needs to go rush and jump into AI tumbler wraps. But what it means is that the markets are never too saturated. There is always going to be either a new product or a new way to apply the product, a new design method, a new style people are interested in, a new trend to capitalize. And as a nod to you, Lizzie, for hopefully if you ever listen to this, the way she says it, there is room for everybody at the table. So I will continue to let you know how that goes. But if you are interested in AI design or sublimation of any type, I highly recommend looking into various YouTubers, or I believe Lizzie is doing master classes and courses on exactly what's worked for her. But there are so many products you can apply sublimation to that I am sure there is another niche. That is going to be something personally I'll be looking into in the upcoming weeks. What other products, sublimation types, crafters are looking for. And if you're listening to this, hopefully you hit subscribe. And if I find anything great, I will make sure to let you know because I'm not worried that it'll get capitalized on. Like I said, brand new podcast. If you're listening to it and you and I are the only ones that know about a new sublimation niche that is about to pop off, then good for us. And thanks to you again for being out there listening. All of that said, it's just a reminder that different product types are going to take different timelines to pan out. They are priced higher when they're physical, so a customer takes a little bit longer to shop around. They might want to compare listings a little more. They might be more concerned about the shipping deadline. And digital products you can make, launch, sell the same day, and get into the hands of the buyer the same day. So it's a little bit easier to start seeing traction, at least in my experience, in those shops. That's what's working for me right now. And that is why I like to have this variety of different shops to handle because, as I said at the beginning, it helps me to experiment. It helps me to try out different things, and it helps me to prove out various trends I discover or hear about. If you stuck around for today's episode, thank you again for being interested in my journey, and please feel free to share your journey with me at hi@theprofessionalmom.com. I'll drop that in the show notes, and make sure to check out the show notes. I do have resources available, including a really great free ebook to get you started with all of the core strategies you need to make sure to leverage as a new seller on Etsy. And it will point you to other resources that can help you grow your journey in between podcast episodes. Thank you all again, and I look forward to talking to you next Wednesday about more actionable strategies instead of just my off-the-cuff personal insights, and we'll look ahead to what we should be doing to capitalize on all of the holidays coming up in second quarter. Until next time, goodbye.